Okay, folks, so we're going to review the 50 Cent album, Get Rich or Die Tryin'. Now, with this album, 50 Cent quickly exploded on the scene. It did not take long, and this was about the highest debut album since Doggy Style by Snoop Dogg. Now, really, knowing that, you got to understand, well, this album must be good if he's on par with Snoop Dogg. So what could be the reason why this may not be, in some cases, a 5-star album? Because it does have more songs than Doggy Style, but as far as that said, this is a really good debut, but I think it's just maybe a hair or two shy of classic status. The thing with me is there are 18 songs on this album, and I wound up liking 12. So, that's 2/3 of the project. You think, okay, well, that's 66%, but, it's better than that. It definitely is, and, some of these songs I give a little bit more presentability, but really, you're going to find that the songwriting and the craftsmanship, I guess is the word, the crafting of the songs is just as good as the Eminem Show. I mean, it just basically is the more street version of that album. And, this was 2002 when it was made, so you get the idea, this is going on. So this is, of course, this is the 2000s. By this point in the 2000s, which was the previous decade, this sort of music was becoming more mainstream. So we were getting less kind of skeletal production and more things emphasized. Dr. Dre was really starting to find these grooves a lot better. We're not in the G-Funk sound, and just folks were beginning to have produced albums that were just the whole way through good. Eminem definitely did this with the Eminem Show. And now this one, it's as if, well, Eminem was good, but he just didn't have someone that he found that he could say that was his credit. Like Dr. Dre had Snoop Dogg, then he kind of helped Tupac, and then he kind of helped Eminem. But Eminem had yet to do that. D12 really only had the song Purple Pills at the time. So beyond that, it was 50 Cent, which he was if you didn't know, he was probably the biggest rap star out of 2003. I mean, so many of his songs hit the top of the charts and just were everywhere. I mean, that was just the only thing about it, was he really reached it. I think he went 6 times platinum within that year alone. And who knows how, he might be at like 8 times platinum, which is 8 million copies. Not many rap albums have achieved this. I mean, especially after about 2008 or so, 2006 or so, this is just non-existent. So the way that this album worked was, it was just highly effective. Now, it's not a complete, this is kind of the thing that the critics will say, is it's extremely good, but it's just not classic. The approach is classic, and the way that 50 Cent handled it, I feel like this is a classic thing. It's just that the songs and some of the choices he made kind of deter it from being that way. But if we were to shave off a few songs and this were to be like a 12-song album and maybe put maybe a 14-song album, I think most people would say it probably is, bar none, one of the best albums in rap, which it definitely is anyways. This spawned G-Unit and the whole movement as far as that was concerned. I reviewed Tony Ayo and that sort of thing. So, I mean, really, this album did some stuff. So this was as important to rap as the Eminem Show was. But anyways, so this project did have a lot of songs. One of the biggest songs around at the time was In the Club, and this was produced by Dr. Dre. And really, this song, I mean, it caught, this is probably one of 50 Cent's best known songs even today, and some folks will even try to say that this is the song that made him and that sort of thing. And, it just depends upon how harsh a critic you are. I really don't feel like this is his best song, and that being this is the first song that most people heard by him, it just doesn't feel as if that is truly the best. I mean, he's done so much more than that, but here you have a good song for one thing. It's produced by Dr. Dre by another. He has the hook down. This is one thing that 50 Cent does, is he has the sing-songy style that he can get. It just gets in your head and stays there. And, really the song is just it's just a simple song. Just, hey, I'm gonna go nuts tonight. So, the next one is 21 Questions, and this is the way that a second radio song needs to be, mainly because it allows you to get in depth without becoming too boring. But it's simply the way that a second single needs to work. So it slows things down, but it's not boring. Nate Dogg is on the song, and it's just great. It's one of the songs that sent 50 Cent way up in the scale. So this means the production on the album, most of this is produced rather well. I mean, almost every beat on this album I liked. And so we'll cover some of the best ones. Many Men, definitely. In the Club, High All the Time, Bloodhound, 21 Questions, Wangsta. All of these are great ones. Probably Many Men being one of the best. And If I Can't is another one, and Bloodhound is a great one as well. So just know these. And that leads me to the songs that you need to hear. So I like 12 out of 18. And there's the 6 songs I did not like. The 6 songs I did not like were Heat, My Style, Poor Little Rich, Gotta Make It to Heaven, You Not Like Me, and Life's on the Line. Now, the bonus tracks were really not that well put together. They just felt like kind of leftovers. But Wangsta was. I'm glad that he threw that on there instead of it just being on the 8 Mile soundtrack. And really, most of the songs that you heard on the radio, there were actually more than 4 songs. There were more than 4 songs. Like, Wangsta was one of these, and I feel like this was a song that kind of showed off 50 Cent's style, because he has style, but it's just different. This was before swag really took off and that sort of thing. So really it was just more macho type, charisma type stuff. And the fact that he was able to do it, and he just, he had personality at the time. Wangsta, just talking about ones that are not quite eye to eye with him, and him realizing it and making sure that you know it as well. And If I Can't, that's a pretty clever one. I feel like, not everyone has that sort of style, especially not on the 4th charting song that they had. This is a song that if you haven't paid attention to more, I definitely recommend that you do. Dr. Dre produced that one also. So this is definitely something that has a great hook, and he's just telling you about him. It's just a real kind of personality song. High All the Time is great. That's a real catchy song. Many Men is one of the best songs on here. This is definitely one, I don't think I should have to say it that much, but it's one that 50 Cent is known for. And really, I mean, the beat is wonderful, but it also talks about, I forgot to talk about he did get shot several times, and this is kind of saying, a lot of folks kind of want him dead, and that, that stands to reason. So it's one of those songs. It's not this is just an extra thing. I mean, back in 2003, there were just not that many rappers who had been shot and that sort of thing. So this, I mean, it still is today, but You know, you have to realize he was a survivor, and he was dropped from a label beforehand because he got shot. So Eminem shows up on here 2 times. Patiently Waiting is good, but then he also introduces Lloyd Banks on Don't Push Me. And, you know, I enjoy that song, Don't Push Me. I think if I had to recommend one of the Eminem songs, I think more people have heard Patiently Waiting. But Don't Push Me is pretty much like a Aftermath Posse song. So I'd mess with that. It's good for what it is, even though it's a little bit dated today. This may be a song that gets ignored. It's still, you know, there's some good lyricists on here. So really, I mean, it's snaking. It's just a more kind of foreboding album and more grim album than the Eminem show. Eminem was really trying to entertain on the project, but 50 Cent kind of does it in a more threatening style. It's the same thing, but and even at one point he says, "Welcome to the 50 Cent show." Welcome to the 50 Cent show, which I liked. I enjoyed that. I mean, it's the same. He basically handles it the same way that Eminem did, but he just kind of I'm not sure the word. He's just more unconcerned. I think that's the best way to put it. So that's one thing to know going in. But I give this album, because I like 12 out of 18. I'm gonna give it an 8. And so that's really that's pretty good for what it is. And the future at 50 Cent has not dropped an album in a little while, but we just have to know that this is still great. This stands to reason that today, the social score, I will give an 8 social, which means how well it plays around you and a group of friends. Everyone should know who 50 Cent is, so this should not really be that much of a deal. So can this album be topped? Yes, it can, but it's on par with the Eminem show.